Welcome to tonight's 5 on 5. The guest is Jan Safley, Executive Director of Consumer Credit Counseling Service. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for inviting me again.
Frequent guest here, and today we're talking about reading your credit report, something very important that people should know about.
It's extremely important, and I hope after listening to this story, they'll get a copy of their free report.
Well, tell us why it's so important for us.
People don't realize that it's their credit score, which is part of their credit report, really drives the price they pay for merchandise, houses, cars, and they don't realize how much more money they're spending when they have a poor credit score as opposed to the good score. They go in, they're lured in by some lender that says, 2.5% interest, and they get in there and the lender says, well, for you, it's going to be 6%. And they don't put two and two together and say, geez, I want to be one of those, 3.5 people. I don't want to be, the 6 or 7% people. And a lot of that is driven by their credit score.
When they first get something like a credit score back, what should they be looking at? How can they break it down?
Well, maybe we should say first how to get the free report, because there's a lot of stuff on, a lot of people playing banjos and music on TV, and they end up going to sites where they end up paying money, and they don't have to do that. So they can get one free report from all three bureaus by going to annualcreditreport.com. And so you definitely need to do that, get each of your bureaus free once a year. So now you can look at the report and you say, do I recognize any of this information? If they see addresses that are incorrect, creditors that are incorrect, they might say, I think I've been a victim of identity theft.
And that could obviously greatly affect the score.
We can assume that the person that's stolen your identity probably isn't paying the bills on time. Another thing is they could look at that and they could say, geez, I've never had that account. I've never had a Macy's card, for example, so this isn't me. And in fact, the information on this Macy's card, the person isn't paying it as agreed. So they have a reason then to say, I need to dispute this information because it isn't correct, and it is lowering my credit score, which I want to be as high as possible.
All right, we'll have a few more questions for you, so stick around. More 5 on 5 right after the break. Welcome back to the 5 on 5. The guest is Jan Safley, Executive Director, Consumer Credit Counseling Service. We've been talking about credit report, getting your annual credit report and score, and breaking it down. Now let's talk about the scores themselves. What kind of numbers are good? What should people be looking for?
Well, they range about 350 to 850. And depending on who you go to get credit, depends on what they think is good. But typically, if you have a score around 700, that would be considered good. Generally, you should get one of the better interest rates if you were going for a house or a loan. Obviously, there's some businesses will give you credit if you have a lower score, but they might charge you a higher interest rate. For example, on your credit card, instead of paying 9% interest, you might be paying 29% interest. So they give you the card, but because of your score, they're going to charge you a higher rate of interest.
Say one of them comes back, or all of them come back, and it's not looking good, or the score's a little lower. Are there things they can be looking at, and maybe that report will tell them to improve it and how fast they can improve it?
Well, obviously, if things are incorrect, they need to dispute it, and you dispute it through the credit bureau, not through the creditor necessarily, and there's some protections that way. So you're going to dispute the incorrect information. Also, one of the things people don't realize is, let's say you have a $1,000 limit and you've paid as agreed, but your balance is $900. That's going to lower your score because your balance is too close to your limit. Number one thing to do, always pay on time. Always make sure you make the minimum payment every month because that can really drive down your score.
Say it isn't an incorrect. It's your
score's
score is
there.
Like it,
but it's you.
But it's you. How quickly can you get things turned around, or what are some of the first steps?
Well, what you need to do is if there's some delinquencies, you need to address them and try to bring those accounts current. And make sure that in the future you make the minimum payments as agreed. Again, lower the balance you have on those items that are too close to the limit. And then, you can see a change. If you have something bad on your credit report after a year, even if you do nothing other than have good credit, your score is going to go up because the old information becomes older. More weight is given to the newer information.
All right, let's wrap things up. Let's give out that website again where they can get it and any further information they can get.
Okay, annualcreditreport.com.
Okay.
And at Consumer Credit Counseling, we also run credit reports, go over them, we'll run scores. If you get your own report and have questions, you can also give us a call.
And the number for
is 541-779-2273.
All right, Jan, thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate it as always. That's it for the 5 on 5 Morning News right after the break.